Dear netizens, a couple of days ago, I already talked about the situation in Gaza. Today, there are some new updates. First of all, let me start by talking about everyone's situation. Because of the ceasefire, Israel and Hamas are at a standoff. The main sticking point is Israel wants to station troops to separate northern and southern Gaza, and also wants some Gaza residents to move to areas closer to the coast, leaving their original homes, because those places are too densely populated. Hamas refuses to agree to this. Why is that? Because if a garrison is stationed inside Gaza, in just half an hour or an hour, military force could reach any part of Gaza. From there, whether heading north or south, they could arrest or kill any member of Hamas at any time. This is actually the crux of the matter. So, in the past, humanitarian food aid was distributed by the United Nations. Later, Israel and the United States said that some people in the UN Relief and Works Agency were actually members of Hamas. Now, the UN is not allowed to be involved. Currently, an organization called the Gaza Humanitarian Organization handles it, which is an organization controlled by Israel. How much aid is actually getting in? In theory, there are 100 truckloads of aid going in each day. But getting through there is extremely difficult. And as for the Gaza Humanitarian Organization, the aid distribution points, there simply aren't enough places to hand out food, so people often get robbed outside because they're just too hungry. It's exactly because people are fighting over supplies that some have been shot and killed, about 1,000 people. And sometimes, of course, some of those food trucks are also seized by Hamas, because Hamas members don't dare to go to the areas controlled by Israel to get food from there. But they still need food. And that's how bloody conflicts break out. That's the background of the situation. Netanyahu's policy is actually pretty clearly to stay out of it, isn't it? All right. That's how it is. It's none of my business. He says there's no famine in Gaza. That famine doesn't exist. So, if there's not enough food, it's all Hamas's fault. Hamas has seized part of the food supplies. That's Netanyahu's narrative. But in reality, of course, 1/3 of the people in Gaza are facing food shortages or are malnourished. There are 350,000 children who are malnourished. Just in July, only in July, more than 20 people died of starvation, literally starved to death. There were 20,000 people seeking help. And when they saw a doctor, they were found to be severely malnourished. That's the situation. So Macron wants to solve this problem. He said in September, he would recognize, if you still don't ease up, he would recognize the state of Palestine. Israel came out to condemn this, saying that if you recognize the state of Palestine, you're helping terrorists you wouldn't have thought. America's staunchest allies, like the UK, Stammer just held a cabinet meeting. And if this situation continues, the UK will also recognize the state of Palestine. And the UK, France, and Germany have issued their strongest statement yet. This kind of approach. He said, the situation we're seeing now in Gaza is just like what happened in Ethiopia and in South Sudan. It's such a severe state of famine The Prime Minister of Norway said, if European countries don't take action and just sit by and watch, they'll fall into a moral crisis. What right do you have to ask others to help Ukraine? That's clearly double standards. Because to be honest, the actions Israel has taken in Gaza are far worse than what the Russian military has done in Ukraine. The number of civilians killed by Russian forces in Ukraine is nowhere near as many as those killed by Israel. Up to now, Israel. How many people have died in Gaza? It's estimated to be around 60,000. In this situation, even Trump couldn't sit still anymore. Trump said, there is definitely hunger. He said, real famine is something you can't fake. I've seen there is famine. He said, we're spending money and making efforts to provide relief to people, but Netanyahu has to do his job. He's the one responsible for distributing this food. This is the attitude of the United States. But the U.S. State Department said, there is no evidence to prove that Israel's actions have violated U.S. law, because U.S. law stipulates that if any country prevents others from providing food and medical aid to war zones, the U.S. can no longer provide military assistance to them. That's exactly the situation right now, but they said they haven't seen any evidence yet. Actually, if the UK and France take the lead, Germany would also take the same action. The UK, France, and Germany issued a stern statement. So what about Israel's response? Of course, there are voices for human rights within Israel. Israel's largest media outlet said that perhaps now Israel is being condemned internationally like this. It's not a PR problem, but actually a moral issue. Some people also say we are survivors of the Holocaust. So of course we can't tolerate others letting innocent women and children be harmed. But 60% of Israelis don't care about what happens in Gaza. And they also oppose sending more humanitarian aid to Gaza. This is the real public sentiment in Israel. That's just how it is. So what did the Israeli government agree to? They agreed to a nightly ceasefire. A ceasefire from 9 p.m. to 10 a.m. the next morning every night. This is called a tactical humanitarian ceasefire. Then, they allowed various countries to airdrop supplies. Airdropping food for relief efforts. Many countries have already said they've done airdrops, like Jordan and Saudi Arabia, the UK, France, Spain. There are 7 or 8 countries doing airdrops. But how much is actually being airdropped? The only one we know for sure is Spain, which dropped 12 tons. But overall, relying on airdrops is extremely inefficient. Really inefficient if you want to airdrop enough to support 2.1 million people. It's basically impossible. Here, I want to ask everyone, and also Netanyahu. It seems there's a voice coming from within his cabinet, saying that he wants to annex part of Gaza, basically treating Gaza like the West Bank, setting up a lot of checkpoints here, controlling the people in Gaza, making them go from one point to another, and having to pass through Israeli checkpoints. He won't occupy the whole of Gaza, but he will occupy part of Gaza. At this point, this is a real soul-searching question. I want to ask everyone, what do you think? Shouldn't the first question be to relax humanitarian measures, to help those women and children? the people of Gaza. Second, this is what Israel is doing right now. Do you think this is already enough retaliation? For Hamas's massacre of Israelis, that time, a total of 1,200 people were killed. Now, 60,000 people have already been killed. If you think it's still not enough, then it's okay to keep going. So please make your stance clear. Even Trump came out and said Netanyahu isn't trying to save the hostages. They just want revenge. In other words, how should I put it? It's not about paying back tenfold. They want to pay back 100-fold to punish the people of Gaza 100 times over. Especially some of the children who weren't even born yet when the terrorist attack happened. Not even born yet. Do you think this is appropriate? What Israel is doing? This is a question that really tests your conscience. I want you to give me an answer.